Hello everyone, Emily Sebrant here, Product Design Manager for Fulfillment and Auth. And today I'm going to be walking through the process of addressing detected business critical vulnerabilities as part of a UX scorecard. So the main job to be done here for Amy, the application security engineer, is when I am assessing vulnerabilities, I want to understand the potential threat that a particular vulnerability represents to my organization's assets so that I can prevent the threat from occurring. And there's a few smaller jobs encapsulated in this. You can read more about that in the UX scorecard issue that will be linked at the bottom of this video. So let's dive in to the process of addressing detected vulnerabilities. So I want to look and see what vulnerabilities have been detected for my organizations. I'm here in my organizations group. I'm going to look for that under secure. And it looks like I have the vulnerability report right here. So initially, that's absolutely where I think I need to go to look at the list of vulnerabilities. But I also see the security dashboard, and I'm not really sure what that does or what I might find there. But I'm going to click on the vulnerability report and see if that's what I need to address vulnerabilities. So it looks like there's a list of vulnerabilities here, so I'm in the right place to start triaging vulnerabilities. So I can see that I've got a certain number of critical, high, medium. So I want to determine the ones that are most likely to impact my organization. So I think I'm going to filter by severity. Oh, and it looks like the vulnerability report is already filtered. So it wasn't immediately obvious to me that it was already filtered because this looks very similar to the filter categories that aren't already filtered. But this is a really useful filter because it only shows me the things that I need to take action on. So it's a really smart default filter, but I didn't immediately notice that it was applied. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this critical severity filter so I can just look at the most important things. And one thing that I didn't really expect when I did this was this filter actually impacts this number here and the numbers up here as well. I didn't really expect that because the filter is located below those items. So I think that's an opportunity there to reevaluate the visual presentation and the location of the filters. All right, so I'm going to start looking at different vulnerabilities to determine if they represent a threat to my organization. So I'll go ahead and click into the first one here to see what is going on. So there's a lot of information in this vulnerability. So I'm going to go ahead and look through it. All of the information is kind of at the same level. And I don't know if there's certain information that's more important than other information, but it might be nice to determine what information is most important to application security engineers. And if we can elevate that information or make it a little more prominent, that would be something that would help this feel a little less overwhelming to dive into. I'm looking in here and maybe I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but I see this. And it looks like AI can explain the vulnerability to me, so I'm going to try that. All right, so this is a really great user-friendly explanation of what the vulnerability is and how to fix it. So based on this, like assuming that this is correct and helpful, like this was a really great experience for me because I was easily able to understand what this meant. However, just a quick note, if this was unhelpful or wrong, this might really impact my experience with explain this vulnerability and make me not very trusting of the AI responses and explanations of vulnerabilities. So based on this, I have determined that this particular vulnerability doesn't represent a threat to my organization. So I'm going to go ahead and dismiss this. So I'm just going to change the status here. And I'm going to dismiss it as a false positive. So it's easy. I can see that it changed the status right here. It immediately updated to dismissed. So that's all I'm going to do for this vulnerability. So now I'm going to go back to the vulnerability report and continue to triage. So There's not an easy way for me to get back from this page. I think I'm just going to have to go with the browser back button. I think that's an opportunity maybe to consider other ways that you might interact with a number of vulnerabilities on the vulnerability report as you're digging into each one. It's a lot of back and forth, or, another potential option was I could have opened all of these in different tabs and gone through them. But again, that's kind of either a lot of back and forth or a lot of open tabs that a customer has to have. All right, so I'm going to look at the next one on the list. So I have 11 critical vulnerabilities left. All right, so I'm going to dig into this one. And perhaps in digging into this one, I determined that this one does represent a threat to my organization. So we're going to need to make sure that we address this. I'll change the status from needs triage because I've already assessed it, and I'm going to confirm this. This is a confirmed vulnerability that we need to address and fix. So in order for my team to address this vulnerability, I want to create a way to track that work. So I'm going to create an issue, which this action is a little bit hidden down here. The more prominent action was resolve with AI, but maybe I don't want to resolve this right now, or I know that there's someone else on the team that is better to resolve this. So this does feel kind of like a primary action to create an issue, but it's a little bit hidden down here. I'm going to go ahead and create an issue. And it's nice, it populates all the information for me. That's easy. And I'm going to go ahead and create it. And then I can go ahead and start assigning it to someone on the team that I know is going to take care of that vulnerability. I can go ahead and add labels or a due date to make sure that we're addressing this in time. But one thing to sort of note here is that now we're a little bit separated from the vulnerability. We have this issue to track the work to investigate the vulnerability, and it's linked here, but now there's sort of two sources of truth for the vulnerability. There's the vulnerability itself, and then there's also this issue. So that's an opportunity maybe to allow people to add assignees or due dates or other metadata information directly to a vulnerability to allow that to be the single source of truth. Additionally, when I end up here on this issue, getting back to the vulnerability report, like I'd either have to go back several back buttons or go back to the vulnerability report in this way. So it's another way that like I sort of got a little sidetracked. But when I do go back several steps to the vulnerability report, I do see that my filters were saved. So that's really nice. I can come back here and continue to go through the different vulnerabilities and triage them and determine if we need to take action on them or not. That's the end of this user flow. Overall, I have assessed this as a B-. Users can easily accomplish what they need to, but it doesn't exceed user expectations. Thanks so much for watching.